Welcome everyone to episode 106 of Raw Sport. My name is Ahmed Al Hooli. We're back with another huge episode with a man known in boxing circles as Mr. Napa. Napa, welcome to the show, buddy. How's things?
Okay, it's good, man. How are you?
Good, my man. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Dubai. I'm from the UK, but I live in Dubai.
Sunny Dubai. Napa,
Yeah.
you've got quite the story. Not
Yeah.
enough people know about it. Take us through your journey into the boxing world.
Well, I got into boxing originally as I'm really close to Chris Eubank Jr. So I've been in and around his camp since he was like 5-0, so like 2012. And then in 2000, beginning of 2023, after being around the game for so long and having such a big network of boxing, working with Eubank in various roles, I decided to start managing fighters. And
Wow.
yeah.
So you've seen the rise of Chris Eubank Jr. How
Mhm.
have you seen him evolve over the years? I mean, from 5-0, that's pretty early on.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was like it was more like just wanting to fight all the time. He was young and stuff, and then as time got on, as we got bigger, he got more and more into wanting to become a. As you get bigger and you start being co-main and then main, you got to start speaking for yourself and showing the character a bit more. And then he's always been a funny guy off the camera, quite smart and intellectual, but funny at the same time. And not until he's been like a main event fighter has the world got to see that part of him.
What was it like having senior in camp? The influence on junior, was it obvious when he was there? Was his performance different when senior was around?
For the Conor Ben fight,
No, in general. Before that, we'll get to the kind of Ben fight.
uh, what was he like? I mean, look, Dean is a legend, respected highly by everyone, and Junior himself. So, and he was the star of the show in the beginning. So we used to love the fact that he's around, and Chris would be making weight. He'd be on a stage dancing while Chris was like flexing his abs and muscles and stuff. And it was a good time back then.
Yeah, I mean, but in terms of his guidance for his son, did that ever overshadow Junior's uh, his presence? Because a lot of kids who come up with such famous fathers, they find it hard to come out of their father's shadow. Like we said in
Mm,
Australia with Tim Zoo and Costa Zoo, it took Tim a bit of
mm.
time to sort of come out of that shadow. Was that a blessing for Eubank Jr.? Because you're behind the scenes. Not many people get to see behind the scenes. Or was it the other way?
I think it was the blessing at first because Senior would take a lot of the limelight and pressure off Junior and more onto him. So it allowed Chris to find time to um, find himself and as a athlete himself. So at first, Senior would be speaking more, and as Chris got older and had been doing more press conferences, more like public media workouts, more fighting on the television from 6 rounds to 8 rounds to 10 rounds. Now he's more comfortable. So when he started doing it himself, then he was leading the forefront of things. He was ready to go.
Awesome. Um, the fight that was first announced between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Ben was a huge fight. By all means, there's a rivalry that started by their fathers. It came in. What was it like negotiating that fight? Because two very big, with obviously with all due respect, big egos, big families, boxing families,
Mm.
well respected. Take us through that negotiation phase and what was that like before the fight?
Well, obviously they were meant to fight in 2022, and that fight fell through. 2 days before the fight because Conor Ben failed the drug test.
Yeah.
But then ever since then, Conor was going back and forth with the British board to get clearance to be able to fight again. And once he did, the public obviously demanded the fight a bit more because they've just been hearing it non-stop since October 2022. Eubank's been when it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. So it became bigger than when it was first negotiated. And then when finally he was free to fight, you know, obviously he's considered himself to be a bigger commodity. So, you know, we were struggling to figure out the terms of whether it will be 50-50, 55-45, 60-40. We actually didn't, we wasn't able to agree. You know, Turkey Al Sheikh in the end came in and was like, okay, guys, I'm just going to just do a deal with Eubank and then I'm going to do a deal with Conor Ben. And the next fights will be each other. So the team spoke to him and we negotiated Prefight with Turkey, and then Eddie Hearn and Maxim spoke to Turkey about Conor Ben and negotiated a deal on their side. So they don't know what we got, and we don't know what they got.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably your first in boxing.
It wasn't going to happen otherwise because, you know, Conor Ben, we didn't feel like the fight was 50-50 because you can't compare what the two have achieved to date. But obviously, Conor Ben felt like he was just as big as Chris. And because the fight was spoken about so much, you know. So it was understandable why he fought like that, but I didn't think it made any sense for it to be 50-50. So if it wasn't for Ring Magazine in Turkey, there would have been no fight. We have to pick them up every time.
Wow, there you go. And then we had the egg incident. I mean, where did that come from?
So obviously the thing came out where, I mean, he didn't directly say it, but it was said in multiple times by the WBC, I think, said it, and a few people in his team that it was a high consumption of eggs to why he failed this drug test. I think the drug was it clomethine?
I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm not 100%. Yeah. So when it came to the press conference, Chris kept it to himself. I didn't even know. No one knew in the team. Hit him with an egg. You know, so his thing was he wanted to shame Conor Ben for being a drug user in a sport. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he saw that as how he's going to embarrass him by hitting him with an egg on stage in front of the world.
Wow, it definitely it went viral and the world saw it. And I think that just amped up the fight even more because that animosity increased. Yeah,
big time. I definitely don't want to get hit by an egg for millions of people. Millions and millions of people.
Yeah, I mean that the stats that came out after the fight by Ring Magazine is that fight got about 20.3 billion impressions, which is stupid in terms of numbers and traction. All right, then fight day comes and Senior rocks up. When did you guys find out Senior was coming?
On the day he reached out to Chris. Then he went for speech, and Chris was like locked in, and he was just like, "Dad, look, it's got this fight there. So we need to focus." And he just insisted on speaking to him and seeing him. And we pulled up to the hotel, and he was like, "Right, what do you want me to do? I'm here for you." So
Wow.
we kept it quiet on the day, and the rest of the world didn't know once he turned up.
Wow. Okay. And then there was talks before the fight that geez, I've gone blank now. We were talking about it earlier. The what's his name? The one who came to the locker room. Geez, I've gone completely blank.
Oh,
Billy Joe Saunders was going to be the man who was going to come and overlook the hand wrapping. And I thought when I heard that, it was like as if these two are rivals. Impossible that it's going to happen. Obviously, it's mind games. So he rocks up and you say to him, not happening.
Yeah, so obviously leading up to the fight, all the press conferences we did, all the media they did together, all the interviews, Chris has had the upper hand the whole way, you know. He's gone viral for everything he was saying at the press conference. He didn't allow Eddie Hearn to speak at the press conference. It's just been total Team Eubank winning. So when they came up with that, I thought to myself, okay, that's a good idea because we don't like Saunders. To have Saunders in the dressing room watching over the raps will just annoy us. So I was trying to figure out what can we do to counteract it. And the only thing I could have thought of was to not let him in.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of anyone that can go and check Conor Benn's raps on our side that would be as good as them sending Billy Joe because Conor hasn't got a rival like that. Conor's rival was Chris. So yeah, I thought the only way I could make them not get the advantage that they're trying to get is to not allow it to happen, and that's what I made sure did not happen. I guaranteed he wouldn't get in, and I guaranteed his good son.
So was that told? Were you guys told that he was coming in, or what was the how did that all play out?
I saw on social media and on Friday I heard he's the guy that's going to check the rap. And no one knew I wasn't going to allow him in. I just kept it quiet to myself. So I didn't want them to know that's what I was going to do. We were just like, okay, yeah, cool. Even I got asked on Fight Week, what's my thoughts about Billy Joe checking the raps? I was like, yeah, no problem. And then when he pulled up, I was like, fuck no.
Was there how was the pre-fight atmosphere in those rooms? Was it chaos with people coming in and out? How do you guys manage that in such a big fight, such big families?
No, we don't let anyone in apart from our inner circle. Obviously, Chris arrived with senior, and him arriving with senior, me looking at him in the changing room, his energy, I saw a glow that I had not seen all camp. In his aura, had a smile in his face. He was like you could just see the guy is he's feeding himself. He's ready to go. He's ready to put on a show that the public were going to enjoy. I knew that victory was ours. I knew it was just a matter of time.
You know, Eubank has had this tendency in the past to be like really relaxed and slow starter and whatnot. But in that fight, I thought we saw him go to another level. And I don't know if it was just a rivalry. I don't know if it's just his dad coming back into his life, but he seemed to rise every time he was down and out. He really seemed to go up to a whole new level in this fight. Did you guys see the same?
Yeah, for sure. Like, look, you know, on paper, it wasn't Chris's hardest fight ever, but we understood this is the fight that, you know, potentially this is what he's going to be remembered by. So he knew he needed to put on a show that is that's gonna do himself justice when everyone goes back and think, who was Eubank Jr? What did he fight like? He knew what he does tonight is what's going to count. It's not going to be any of the other fights in the past. It doesn't matter that he's gone to super middleweight and fought in the WBSS tournaments and knocked out Yildirim in 2 rounds and all that type of stuff. He's going to be remembered for tonight. So he knew that, you know, regardless of him being dehydrated and the rest of it, he has to perform to let everyone know who Chris Eubank Jr.
Eddie Hearn, Chris Eubank would not let him talk. I mean, what's the story there? Is there old beef that's there? And then Eddie Hearn tried to play a masterstroke and put Frank Smith up there, who I believe is the partner of Eubank's sister. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So they tried to play this little game, but he just shut him right off.
Yeah, none of it worked. Listen again, you know, Chris is the master when it comes to mental warfare. At the press conferences, you can't get one up over him. He'll always get one up over you, regardless if he's going to put Frank Smith there, regardless if he's going to put Eddie Hearn there. I wouldn't say it's beef. They're just the opposition right now, and he was not allowing him to speak.
So him and Frank are cool?
They're not on the best of terms, but a lot of that has got nothing to do with boxing. It's more of a
Family.
personal matter. Yeah, so family
Okay.
matters, regardless if it's Eubank or anyone else. And I'm someone that doesn't really go into it because it's not about boxing. Me personally, I'm cool with Frank. I've known
Mhm.
Frank for a long time. I'm cool with Eddie. I've known Eddie for a long time. But what with Frank and Eddie, Frank and Chris's um, relationship, understandings, misunderstandings, it's not boxing related. So it is what it is.
Okay. Massive fight night. The fight delivered. The world watched on. Eubank had his hand raised. Then he went to hospital. Well, what
Yeah.
happened to him?
Yeah, he was just dehydrated, severely dehydrated. Like, you know, he fought at 160, which he's fought for the last couple of years. And then he had a dehydration of only 10 pounds allowed on the second dose, which
Wow.
is 2 pounds less than what the IBF allow. The IBF is they're the only organization that puts restrictions in the second day for weigh-ins, and the IBF allow you to be 172. So, Chris is doing something that no other middleweight restricts themselves to do in the division just to get this fight over the line, because obviously they feared Chris being too big without a dehydration.
Yeah.
So, when you have in your mind and you know that you can't put on 10 pounds more on the following day after the weigh-in, Chris is not eating and drinking as he would like. He's being very careful with it, so he wasn't able to rehydrate at 100%. So he wasn't, the 100% version of himself in the night. But his will to win, his desire, the warrior pose, the Eubank genetics, it all came out in the ring.
Wow. What's next?
Well, it was a 2-fight deal that we negotiated. So next will be Conor Ben again.
Wow. Tottenham?
I think so. That's what Turkey said he wants.
Not Wembley?
I think it's a Wembley fight now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to be speaking with them all in the next week or two, and flash out a deal. Hopefully that everyone's happy with.
Are we going to see fast turnaround, or is it going to stall a bit until until Chris recovers?
Uh, there's nothing wrong with Chris now. He was just dehydrated post fight.
Okay.
He's not injured. He's not hurt. There's nothing wrong with his jaw. There was rumors he had a broken jaw. He don't have a broken jaw. He didn't really get hurt in the fight. He was just dehydrated. He went into the ring dehydrated. So he just in the hospital. He just had to rehydrate himself to his normal. So he's still 100% strong. So that's all that was.
Wow. There you go. All right. You also manage a few more fighters.
Yeah.
Who else do we look out for?
I have Blair Cobbs,
Hmm.
welterweight. He's coming off a win against Adrian Broner on a Dunking show last year.
Oh yeah.
He's looking for big fights at 147. He recently signed with us. He's looking at fights with Josh Taylor, Jerome Ennis, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. He's mentioned to the Teofimo Lopez. Even though Teofimo's 140, he believes that Teofimo will come 147 soon. He is an exciting fighter, which the American public need now on a big stage to justify after what happened in the New York cards. 3 big names that didn't really. Well, Teofimo's fight weren't that bad, to be fair, but obviously the public expected more from the Devin Haney's performance and from the Ryan Garcia Rolly fight. I don't think Rolly himself did
Hmm.
anything wrong. It
Right.
was more Ryan Garcia felt Rolly's power and didn't want to know. It wasn't
What's your
engaging.
thoughts? What's your
So
thoughts
yeah.
on that Times Square card without a crowd?
Well, I mean, everyone fought in COVID, and there were some exciting fights in COVID, so I don't think it was an excuse. I think what I personally think is, most of these guys, what I don't like, well, no, I don't like, but I understand like for example, if you're Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, and you get told get through this fight, and then you can fight each other next, you sort of want to make sure that you get through it smooth,
unscathed.
so you don't mess up the next opportunity. So I think that affects the performance, and a lot of the big things, like in the beginning when it was AJ should beat Otto Wallin and Deontay Wilder should beat Parker, and then Wilder messed it up, and then there's a few times when these type of semi-finals are happening with these Riyadh Season and Ring Magazine fights. It's not playing out to how
It's a safe option. Yeah, but it's to the demise of the fans, really, because the fans expect fireworks when these fighters go out and getting paid these hefty checks. Actually, I had Billy Dibon here, former world champion, yesterday, and he was saying the same thing. The disappointment is because these fighters are just trying to get through to the next big payday. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, 100%. Billy's right. And if they get told, listen, if you perform well, then I'll let you know whether you're gonna fight the next fight. Then that's different. But then look, at the same time, I think Teofimo performed well, and other people have thought, it's on Saudi Arabia, maybe like when Joshua Buatsi fought Callum Smith, the arena was not 100% full, and yet because they fought first on the Bivol Better Be a 2 card, and that was an amazing fight, So I don't think the strategy is 100% wrong. Yes, it's an excuse. But it's the only excuse you can justify why the fighters are not fighting exciting fights. But Devin Haney is Devin Haney. He's not someone that goes out there and. I think when's the last time he had a stoppage win? Is a while ago, right?
Yeah, I can't remember, to be honest. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
And if Ryan Garcia got hit by Rolly Romero and he felt the power,
Never recovered.
who are we to say? Yeah, who are we to say? Oh, why didn't you get hit again? It's easy for us on the outside to sit with our popcorn or me with my shisha and say, oh, he should do this, he should do that. So, it takes a lot of balls and guts to get into the ring. So it's hard for me to over criticize.
What do you think of the state of the boxing in the USA is at the moment?
Well, obviously it's not as big as it once was. Let's say like in the 80s and 90s and stuff. But I feel that's because the rest of the world is caught up talent-wise. Back in the day, you would never hear of like good fighters coming out of Australia or the UK. It's like there'll be like a busy fight for the likes of Muhammad Ali or Sugar Ray Leonard. Back in the day, someone's coming from Australia. I think I can't even think of an Australian fighter in the 80s and stuff like that. But whereas now, the world is caught up in terms of building good talent. So Australia's got like Jaya Papaya, it's like Tim Zoo,
Cambosis.
Cambosis. Cambosis is okay, but I rate more like Liam Parrow.
Yeah.
And what's the other one called?
Sam Goodman is fighting tonight, Australian time, yes.
Yeah, great fighter. He's fighting tonight, yeah. Great fighter. Cesar Tapia?
Yes, Tapia. He fights out of Florida. Mateo Tapia. That's the one. Yeah.
That's it. Mateo Tapia. Yeah. Exciting fighter. Same for England. I think they've got the best heavyweight.
Well, English boxing is the mecca of boxing at the moment.
But back in the day, Henry Cooper was the best heavyweight, or Frank Bruno was the only
Lennox
heavyweight.
Lewis.
Now, Lennox Lewis. Now, to be English champion, it's harder to do that than to be a WBA international or WBC international champion. To win the English title is difficult. You've got to get the belt of Fabio Wardley.
It's valid. What you're saying is 100% valid. So your national title now means something. There's relevance to it.
Yeah.
In
Oh hell
America, the
yeah.
national title means nothing.
Yeah.
In Australia, it's still
That's because in America. So obviously in England we've got the
yeah.
British title, right? That's the main one, right? In America, they have an American title
Hmm.
for every belt. So you have the
Yeah.
NABF for the WBC. They've got the
Yeah.
NABA for the WBA, IBF USBA, and you've got the
Hmm.
NABO. So you can have 4 American champions in America. They don't have just one American title that means a
Correct.
lot. You know, if they did, maybe there would be bigger domestic fights in America, but they can just win the NABO and then they are the WBO
Yeah.
American champion. You
Absolutely.
know, that's what I think. That's what makes the British title more a prestigious belt to win in the UK versus what
It's
the
the
Americans
development
have.
of the ecosystem, really. That's what it is, and
Yeah,
that's why we got Wardley, we got Justice Hooney going over there now to fight Wardley at the
yeah,
Ipswich
good fight.
Town
Good fight.
soccer club or football club in England. It's going to be a massive fight, massive
Yeah,
crowd, atmosphere will be crazy. It's
yeah,
on.
yeah.
All right, Napa. I want to thank you very much for taking the chance to join me. Hopefully, we'll bring you on again before the next B1 and to announce it. And yeah,
Yeah.
man, I wish you all the best. Thank you for taking the time to
Thank you, bro.
come on. Any parting words for us?
No, just keep doing what you're doing. I heard good things, and keep the interviews coming. And yeah, I'll be back with some news
Thank
soon.
you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Napa. Take care,
All right.
everyone. Thank you for joining me on Raw Sport.